Welcome. Thank you for watching this video. I'm going to try to make it as brief as possible because we know you need to get on with your business and what you're doing. Um, so with that being said, welcome to Peer Group Mentor Training. The reason why we call it Peer Group Mentors is because you won't be individually matched up with students, but you will be matched up with the group of students at your school. Uh, Peep the logo. I just want to point that out. Uh, we have a new logo. You're going to see that a little bit more often as you saw on your lanyards. But here we go. So just a preview, we're going to go over the mission of the peer group mentoring program. What is a mentor as we define it in the program, and how to become that mentor. What is it that you need to do to become that mentor that we're talking about? So your mission, should you choose to accept it, uh, the mission of college completion program aims to provide guidance and support that will assist students over hurdles, around roadblocks, and across the finish line. With the collaboration of our partnering colleges, universities, and personal community mentors, the program turns its focus to our FACTS model, which allows us to rectify the financial, academic, career, and social personal barriers that may otherwise cause a student to drop out. Now, when we mention the FACTS model, this is very important. If you haven't noticed already, we've been constantly asking you things about your finances, about your academics, and trying to make sure we're able to match that with your career and balance out a social life, because all of these things are part of the complete student, right? And so your job is going to be a part of your job is going to be to report on these things. And it's going to be to relate some of the issues that may have come up with these things. And we're going to continue to support our freshmen that way. So here is the web, the bubble map, if you will, of exactly what's going on with CCP. Um, these are the different ways that we support all of our students. We support them through funding. We give them a campus liaison, somebody who knows the campus inside out. Because yes, we want to advise students, but at the end of the day, only the people on campus know the policies and procedures that they have to hurdle through. And quite frankly, our campus liaisons tend to be very connected when we're talking about getting students what they need, meeting with the proper professors and the proper offices to overcome any of the barriers and challenges that a student might have. You are a new piece of that puzzle. That's why we made it white. Um, you will, along with the campus liaison, you'll handle a lot of the day-to-day things that students need, the day-to-day issues and things that pop up. Together, you all will work on that. Now, a lot of your job is going to be reporting. Very little of it will be acting, and we'll get more into that later. Sorry, with the care packages, right now we only have funding to do freshmen, so I know that question always comes up every year. Sorry, right now we only have money for freshmen. Ask some more donors to donate, and maybe we can get one for you. As far as community service goes, we just finished that. Special events, we have a couple new ones coming on this year, but part of this would be the winter workshop. Um, Part of this would be the retreat, the summer retreat that we do to orient all the students. These are special events. Professional development, you are engaging in it right now because you are watching the video to make sure that you are a great peer group mentor. So, with that being said, the chain of command, this is something that's very important for us to pay attention to. Okay? This is where you might want to write notes. Excuse me. This is where you might want to pay attention exactly to what we are asking you to do in a very general sense. Okay? Dr. Stewart and I need to know about all issues that may affect a student's physical, mental, financial, academic, or social well being. Okay. Anything that happens on campus with a student, if as with it being as dramatic and traumatic uh, as a student trying to commit suicide, all the way down to just simply a student is having trouble getting books for class. We need to know the the big to the small, so that way we can support all of you all in the right way. Okay. It's also best that you tell your campus liaison about many of these things as well. Now, campus liaison is not really going to care too much about some of the things that we care about, um, such as whether or not they are giving us their documents on time and meeting those types of deadlines with College Bound. However, they are going to be concerned about all of the important things that relate to a student actually staying on campus. Um, all the way down to, are they adjusting socially to their dorm life or just adjusting socially to being a commuter student? So, those of you all we've chosen, I don't believe any of you all are commuter students, but you're going to have to reach out to them and keep them engaged, especially because it's very hard as a commuter student to stay engaged on campus and keep up with everything going on with people on campus, particularly at a school like Towson um, or Morgan, where they have a number of things going on at a number of different times at a number of different places on campus. Um, but ultimately, you're going to need to report to us, and there's going to be a separate training on exactly what pieces of paper you need to submit. Um, you need to report to us because we are salaried employees. It's our responsibility to directly advise and assist with major hurdles that students encounter. So, while yes, they students may come to you and tell you things, it's not your job to go to the financial aid office with them. It's not your job to uh, show up to the medical center or the health center. Okay, um, we will handle those things. Now, if you would like to do that as just the great person that you are, that is fine. However, that's not necessarily expected from you. What is expected from you is making sure we know everything that we can know to do the best job that we can for all of you all as students. Okay? Because we know you have your own jobs to worry about, your own classes to worry about. So we're not necessarily looking for you to be that campus mother or father, okay? So breaking down your particular mission as the peer group mentor into four parts. The peer group mentoring program's mission is to create a community at each student's campus that encourage academic and personal growth. So that's a big thing that you want to focus on is, are the students growing? Are the students uh, matriculating academically as well as socially? Are they connecting? If they're not, you want to make sure not only that you talk to them to make sure there's no personal problems, but also talk to us, relay that to us, and say, hey, I noticed that so and so wasn't necessarily engaged on campus. They only come to class and they're not doing all that great in class either. So I don't know if this is the right place for them, or they may have mentioned that they wanted to transfer at one point in time. Please let us know these things because we can get out ahead of any type of issues that would affect GPA, scholarship wise. That's a big, big concern of ours is, hey, we want you to stay eligible. We want you to keep this money, right? We don't want you to lose out on this money. So next, we expect you to support underclassmen to adjust to the academic and social culture of the particular campus. Um, what that essentially means is, you know Are they doing well on campus? Are they missing out on key things that are important to campus or important to being a student on that campus? We want to make sure that you keep track of that. Translating jargon and social norms, that's a part of that. They need to know whether it is the bursar's office and where the bursar's office is, right? Uh, Not every school has a bursar's office. Some just have a financial aid office. Some have a registrar's office. All of these different words can confuse somebody and hold them up from getting what they need to get done. Lastly, we expect you to help increase their awareness of resources for help and support around campus. Every student needs a community. Every student needs help to get things done. Now, the question is, are you going to help them find that, or are you going to just suggest a couple things and walk away, right? We want to make sure every student connects with whoever they need to be successful. And a lot of students aren't used to the fact that they need help. A lot of students are coming in. I was in IB, I was in AP, I was on the principal's honor roll. Yeah, that's all great and fine, but you're not used to being in college. Even I needed help, but in getting help, some of you all that I'm talking to have 360s, 3.8s. Some of you all have a 3.4, 3.5. These are important things that they need to understand is that help is imperative to them getting the grade and succeeding as best as possible. So, the job description, getting a little bit more specific. Peer mentors must make a 1 year commitment. With you all starting now in spring, uh, we'll make it optional. We'll definitely have a discussion this summer on whether you want to continue through the fall and re up for the next year. Peer mentors must meet with the group twice per semester. Okay, twice per semester. Once before midterm. This term is going to be in March. You must make a date in March, and again before final exams, um, you must make a date in April. Uh, we will talk to you more about how to schedule that. But essentially, you're going to have to work with your campus liaison to get a room and to uh, then we'll talk about what activities you might do, things of that nature. Okay, but with the 1 year commitment, we're going back to the 1 year commitment. I failed to mention that you can't really do uh, a semester abroad and be a committed peer group mentor. You're not able to be on campus. The whole point of a peer group mentor is to be on campus. I can check in on the phone. I don't need you to check in on the phone. What I need you to do is just simply be a face on campus, a familiar face for students, okay? Skipping down to peer group mentors will communicate regularly with college completion staff and their campus liaison, reporting all meaningful interactions with mentees in the peer group mentor activity report. Again, that's going to come another video. The activity report and the call log, these are things that the contact log, excuse me, these are the things that we're going to make sure that you fill out so that way we can keep track of what's going on with the students but on paper. But also if anything happens to where we need to pass our responsibilities on to someone else, it's already written down, it's already recorded, and we're able to move on from there. Next, we expect you to assist your mentees in identifying, familiarizing key offices and resources on campus. We need you to walk them to the bursar's office or the place to renew your ID. Little things that a lot of people don't go through um, on a normal every semester basis, but I'm sure there's going to be a freshman who lost their ID at one point. And as you know, your ID is life on campus. Um, you must foster an atmosphere of trust. What that means for everybody is a little bit different. That's why I left it so vague. So we'll talk about some best practices that you can do to foster that atmosphere of trust. You must learn your mentee schedule so you can consistently ask them how class is going, keeping them academically accountable. So we want going back to being able to act before any issues happen. You want to make sure uh, that you talk to them before midterms, right? About how things are going, just in case we do need to drop that class. And now, by us dropping by the drop add period, that student isn't getting an incomplete. That student is, potentially getting their money back for that class. They may also be able to switch and add a different class. Now, we're not asking you to academically advise them, but we are asking you to keep them accountable with their academics, saying, hey, how are you studying? You know, things of that nature. Keeping them aware of some of the adjustments that they may have to make and helping them find those people to make those adjustments, whether it's talking to the academic advisor about changing classes, whether it's going to the writing center or the math help center to make sure that they actually make the grade in math, actually get the right grade on the paper instead of having to try to fix it on the back end. Also, we want to provide our mentees with strategies to balance social life and academics. I was a freshman who didn't do this well first semester, and it was a hard road on my way back second semester and even on into really junior year. It was a really hard road back to a 2.5. So you need to directly uh, ask them questions about what's going on outside of class, right? Pay attention if you see them outside of class. How often do you see them not studying? How often do you see them, or how often do you not see them? Period. We've had students um, who did nothing but play video games. And when it came down to their grades, it was like, well, you skipped too many classes, you failed the semester. And they were looking around like, wait a minute, how did I not know this? Why am I in this position? It all has to do with the fact that they weren't making it to class. Now, this is another thing that is particularly going to be an issue with commuter students. So I'm calling out again the Morgan and Towson peer group mentors. You're going to need to pay very close attention to how often you see those commuter students because this is a big issue, right? Assist your mentees with understanding important deadlines and college processes like add drop processes, financial aid deadlines, dorm resolution processes, changes in major, etc. Um, I think that is pretty self-explanatory. We do not want you to use any alcohol, tobacco, or any controlled substances or firearms during mentor mentee activities. No exceptions, okay? You will not smoke with your mentees. You will not drink with your mentees. You will not use firearms or fireworks for that matter with your mentees. I understand that you are in college. I understand that some of you all may eventually be of age. However, um, number one, we know they aren't of age. Number two, when drinking with them or when engaging in something that is not considered 100% in the moral code of everything, anything that's not PG, right? Anything that's not PG, you don't want to do around your mentees because it can affect your credibility. Some of our mentees are very religious, so that will come with a disconnect from them to see you drinking, right? Some of our mentees just have not been exposed to that, or the other side, we don't know who has had a bad experience with somebody who drank too much or somebody who smoked what that might trigger. We want to avoid triggers, and we want to avoid ways to discredit what we're saying. Okay, that's a, just a player pro tip for the rest of your life. Not only do you not want to drink with your mentees, but also don't drink with your employees, um, things of that nature, because again, you want to stay at the moral high ground at all times, right? And whether or not you feel that it is immoral, I personally don't, okay? However, other people may, and you want to prevent any roadblocks that you might have to communication. Okay, respect each other's boundaries. If you do not know how to respond to something, contact your campus liaison or CBF staff. So we don't want you to just flat out pop up on them at their door, right? Unannounced, right? Um, Also, you may get off of a class or out of work um, pretty late. Do not text anyone or call anyone after, really truthfully, when it comes down to business, 9 p.m., right? Now, you may flex that personally, but you need to work that out with your mentees, okay? We don't need people talking to each other extremely late at night, right? You need your study time. So, literally schedule that. Schedule your study time and say, hey, I care about y'all, but you are not going to call me from the hours of 7 to 9 or 7 to 11, however long you need to study to make sure you stay academically on point is what we're expecting, okay? Moving on, if there's a change in contact information for you or your mentees, please notify us immediately. There have been a couple students where we haven't been able to get in contact with them. This is not good, being that number one, we're the scholarship provider, but also number two, um, being that we can't support them as students without being able to keep in contact with them, okay? Help mentees with strategies to get active on campus. This is a huge one. Students who get active on campus have a better rate. Uh, Number one, a better time of being a student, but also they tend, as long as they don't get overcommitted, they tend to do better academically. So that's why we want everyone to get active on campus in one way, shape, form, or fashion. It can be an on-campus job. It doesn't have to be in a student group, and they don't have to be that consistent in a student group. Maybe they just attend Black Student Union uh, or African Student Union once a month, a couple times a semester. Things of that nature. By the fact that they're getting connected and building relationships on campus is the most important part. The above responsibilities are compensated by a 300 stipend per academic year. This is again assuming fall and spring. It'll be $75 per group meeting. So remember with the first job description slide, I said that you would have to have 2 meetings per semester. Okay, so 2 group meetings per semester, $75 for each of those. There is an activity budget. Um, that each school has. It's very low. It's very minimum. So don't expect to get much more than pizza um, or a couple other things. It's not a lot for you know particularly bigger groups like McDaniel and Towson and Frostburg. You got to spread your money a little bit longer than those some of the smaller schools with campus liaisons. So, what is a mentor according to CCP? We'll have some definitions, some clarifications of best practices in here. Um, so, let's start with, I always like to start with where we are not to build on what we are. Okay. So let's take away some of these things these misconceptions. You are not a counselor or a therapist, right? Yes, you may give good advice when it comes down to relationships, when it comes down to dealing with anxiety. But remember, you are not a counselor or a therapist. So if you do come across this issue, refer them to a therapist after you talk to both the campus liaison and at least one of us. Okay? And when I say us, I mean Dr. Stewart and myself. You are not an academic or career advisor. Yes, you may have had your own experiences with classes, and we expect you to share that. Hey, my personal experience with Professor so and so was like X, Y, and Z. Okay, I understand that. But you are not to tell them what they need for graduation and no, you should drop this class. You don't need that class. Those are conversations that you don't need to have. Okay, because we don't want to um, misunderstand any processes that may have changed or something like that, and we don't want to guide people in the wrong way because that chips away at your trust. Okay, you are not a surrogate parent on campus. Okay, you may care for the student, but you do not, and I do mean you do not have to. We're not expecting you to babysit them. Okay, we don't want them to feel babysitted. Okay, these are things that may get you fired. Okay. You are not a social worker. I understand you may have had your own similar situations that have happened in your lifetime. You are not a social worker. Again, refer them to us. You are also not an MC of campus. So it's going to require that you do a lot more listening in the midst of your guiding. You're not just telling them what to do and walking away. You are engaging with them, gaining trust, building a relationship so that they have someone to, number one, uh, be a confidant, but also, number two, they have somebody that they can look to and call upon. If you're just being an MC, they're not going to call upon you that often. They're just going to ask you for deadlines, and that's about it. You're not going to be that effective. So, going back to what I was mentioning before, you are a confidant. Okay, that's what you are going to be. We want them to, we want you to build a relationship that's good enough to mention what's going on uh, in their dorm life, what's going on in classes, right? What's going on at home. All of these things end up mattering at the end of the day. You are an on campus guide. So I'm not expecting you to memorize the dates of the buildings or anything like that, but I am expecting you to help know where to help them go. And if you don't know, you will walk with them and help them find out. You are a role model. You are going to be an example. Okay. So that goes back to not drinking, that around them. That has a lot to do with what you do in your personal academics, what you do on your personal job, how you act in your personal dorm. Okay. All of these things, you need to understand that people are watching. People are watching. And whether you like it or not, just flat out because you're black, just flat out because you are from Baltimore, just flat out because you're poor, people are going to group y'all together anyway. So you might as well be a role model, okay? And change the narrative, okay? You are an ally and an advocate, okay? We expect you to look out for them and speak up for them. Now, when I'm saying speak up for them, I'm not expecting you to get into a fight in any way, but you are to come to their side, right? And definitely advocate to us, in advocating for them. You need to let us know all of the little things that have been happening that built up to any potential situation. Okay. You are a facilitator. So a facilitator is in contrast to an MC. A facilitator, number one, guides the room but also engages the room beyond just telling them something. They actually have a real conversation, they have a real communication with the audience. Again, busting some myths and misunderstandings. Mentoring only happens one on one. That's false. Okay, you will end up having all of you all will end up having multiple mentees, even if you break it up male or female, or just flat out breaking it in half. All of you all have more than one mentee. Only the mentee benefits from the mentoring relationship. Okay, false. Okay, the benefits come through a lot of different routes. Okay, and you will learn some things from your mentees without a doubt. You also learn some things about yourself as you mentor your mentees. My mentees' family is the problem. That's a misunderstanding. Yes, they may be a hindrance, but it's not your job to down them in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Your job is to support them in spite of, and let us know what's going on. Number four, they will talk to me when they need me. This is the biggest one that I want to crack. If you don't remember anything else, you must engage. You must engage. You understand? We don't want you to take a passive route on mentoring these mentees. They're not going to call you just because you said call me. Okay? You need to develop a relationship so they do call you that. Then and only then can you quote unquote go with the flow, right? 15 minutes can't make a difference. A short amount of time can't make a difference. That is false. You know, particularly those who are with these bigger schools and more mentees, okay, I don't expect much time to be spent. I don't expect hours and hours to be spent with each mentee, but the little 15 minutes here, the little 15 minutes there makes a huge difference. Show up, at little intersections, whether you all have uh, class in the same building or not, just those little, just walking to the calf. Um, Walking in between classes, if you see them, say hey. The little saying hey could make or break someone's day, whether you believe it or not. Okay, because a lot of these students do end up feeling alone despite the fact that they have been on campus since August. A lot of these students, still haven't really connected with a full-on group yet. You need to be a part of that group that they have on campus. Okay, you don't need to be their best friend. I'm not asking for that. But what I am asking is that you are a familiar face and you are somebody that they can count on. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Okay? Please set boundaries. Do not go with the flow. You need your study time. Um, they don't need to know who you're dating or if you're dating. Okay? They may be attracted to you. You may be attracted to them. Make sure there are boundaries romantically. There are boundaries, about necessarily what you share. Okay, I'm not expecting you to share everything, but share enough to develop that basis of trust. Keep sensitive info confidential from your peers, but do not hide it from us or the campus liaison. That is our job, to get that sensitive information and take action. Our job is to take action. Your job is to get the information, okay? You can offer advice when warranted, but note when I say when warranted, okay? There are places and times where you just flat out not supposed to say something. Guys, this is a PSA for guys. If you haven't learned already, a lot of the way some women communicate, um, they don't want you to solve the problem. They just want you to listen. They don't want you to solve the problem, they just want you to listen. So sometimes advice is definitely not warranted. It's just you listening to the problem and supporting them through it. Okay? So do not become an unofficial therapist on the flip side. Okay? You may know what to do, but only give your solution if it's warranted. Do socialize with mentees. Do not party with mentees. Going back to what we were saying earlier. Do advocate for your mentees, but do not risk your well being for a mentee. If a mentee is getting arrested, do not, and I repeat, do not get in the way and get yourself arrested. Okay? Do not yell at the police. Yes, you can record. Yes, you can report what happened. Yes, you can follow them down to the station, but do not put yourself in jeopardy to where you're in the back seat with them. Do not put yourself in jeopardy to where you aren't taking time enough to study because you're too busy listening to all of their social problems. Make sure you study. At the end of the day, you are still supposed to make your grade. You still are supposed to succeed yourself. This doesn't work if you aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing for yourself as a student. All right. Best practices. So, some tips would be meet in the library. A great place to meet, just on some, hey, what are you doing type stuff. Um, the cafeteria, another great place to meet up with mentees because people are more comfortable when you eat together. When you share a meal, people tend to be a little bit more comfortable in communication. Student center, or your union is a great place to meet up, especially if it's a commuter student that doesn't have a meal plan. The student center is a perfect place for them to meet up with you. A local meeting place like a restaurant just off of campus or, a park, great places to meet. And then lastly, ask your liaison to book a room for you. This is particularly for group meetings, but if you want to just have a study session, you know, during midterms, that's great. Book a room, great. Um, so obviously you see there are things to do like studying, eating, working out is something that you could also do together. You, there won't be a ton of talking, but just to have a workout buddy sometimes makes all the difference. You can play games as far as board games, card games, video games, like little party games just to break the ice. You can play games with them, attend events with them. A lot of people don't pay attention to this, but sometimes they'll have to go to a play on campus or some type of festival on campus for class, or you might invite them. You all go to events on campus together, especially if going to a basketball game or a volleyball game or a baseball game is free for you all as students. Why not? Why not go support your fellow Tigers or Bears or Green Terror uh, or Bobcats? If it's free to you all, why not? Right? Go to a choir performance. Some of our students are actual musicians. They might have a performance. Go to that performance. Be conscious of the little things. These are some of the best practices to break the ice, to develop that level of trust. Become conscious of the little things, right? The little things that you can do, the little things that you can say. These things make all the difference on your relationship with your students. Reach out as often as possible. Okay, reach out as often as possible just to connect with the students. This, particularly at the beginning, ends up helping you develop that level of trust. Now, I'm not expecting you to put a ton of hours in, right? So once a week, reaching out to maybe one or two of them, makes all the difference for you as far as being effective, but it's not required. Okay, let me make that perfectly clear. It's not required. Make yourself available to be present. So what that might mean is you study outside their dorm, or you study in a place where they can just happen upon you and see you as a familiar face. In addition, you're sharing your particular schedule with them. Communicate your feelings as well. That's very important. They will. We expect that once you develop this rapport, that they'll communicate their feelings to you. You need to communicate yours as well. Like, hey, I feel like you're taking advantage of my time, or you're not respecting what is going on. Okay, communicate your feelings. And it's okay to not always have an answer for everything. Yes, you are the mentor, but that doesn't mean you have all the answers. It just simply means that you are in a position to help. Becoming that mentor, okay? Becoming that mentor. We're talking about you need to have an open heart and mind. Be sincere and honest with yourself and your mentee. Embrace your differences. Seek another perspective than your own, okay? That's going to be very important in communicating, uh, because not only do you want to encourage them to get them out of their situation, they may need to seek another perspective, but also, you know, it might help you empathize with them to look at it from their point of view. Um, Ask questions, constantly ask questions of them. I ask questions of us. We're not just releasing you to the wolves. We want you to ask us questions. We want you to develop as a mentor and as a person. Seek for answers together is always the best policy, in my opinion. That way, not only are you not just telling them what to do, but you're able to, uh, so you don't have to convince them. It's more of a uh, coming to an epiphany together, right? Leading them into their answers. Do not seek approval because you will not get it. Okay, you will. There's going to be a lot of thankless actions that happen with dealing with people. Period. So this is just a PSA for those of you all who want to be teachers and social workers. A lot of what you're doing will matter and will be rewarding personally, internally, but don't expect to get many thank yous. Okay, so we talked about earlier being an example. Okay, how do you be an example? First, you must make the grade. You must make the grade. Plain and simple. You must meet deadlines. You must get involved yourself. You must meet regularly with professors and advisors and break down the steps to your wins. Okay, so don't just win, break down the steps for them to let them know, hey, I did X, Y, and Z. That's how I ended up here. Okay. Especially those of you all with those great GPAs, it's very important that you let them know how much you studied, how you studied. Because a lot of us still don't know how to study. Okay. Um, and if you're not meeting regularly with your professors and advisors, you are gypping yourself because you are paying tuition and you're not taking advantage of everything that is automatically comes with what you are paying for. Okay? You, all of these little fees add up to support systems. And if you don't utilize them, how are you going to be, number one, an effective support system, but also number two, how are you going to be the proper student? Communication is also imperative. Okay, you must communicate frequently. You must pay attention to the words that you use and your tone. All of us may be from Baltimore City schools. Not all of us use the same vernacular, and you may have picked up something at school. You never know. So you want to make sure that you take your time when speaking. Okay, to avoid offending somebody. Because some people, once you offend them, they have written you off for the rest of their lives. So you want to pay very close attention to that because you don't want them to shut down on you. Okay. Context to what you're saying is everything. So if you have to build up a backstory, do it. I'd much rather you be long winded than say something that either A, confuses them, or B, offends them. Okay? You must drive the narrative with your mentees. You don't want them to just use you as a Dear Abby complain and question service. Okay, you are not a complaint and question service. You must drive the narrative when, number one, connecting with the student because a lot of times they're not going to connect with you. But also, number two, making sure that it's going in the right way so that you all grow. The whole point of this is for everyone in this situation to grow and succeed. So you need to, take a step back from time to time and pay attention to that. Okay? Because there's good silence and bad silence. Not all silence, whether it's, radio silence from them not answering your texts or phone calls to, just flat out taking a pause on the phone or in conversation. All silence is not bad silence. Some good silence would be, after a some real poignant help. Okay, you want to pay attention to that. Okay, invest in encounters. It's harder to dismiss someone in your presence, so that means you need to be accessible physically to them. Not all the time. I know you have a job. I know you have classes. Okay, I'm not expecting you to be available 24/7, but what I am expecting is, you know, maybe one day a week they see your face. Maybe once a semester you all actually have a real conversation. Okay? Memories are made when guards are down. So the frequency helps to add comfort, but also doing something free helps bring people's guards down. Invest in, think about, hey, do I want to just flat out go to a game with my mentees or a couple of my mentees? Do I just want to hang out and, not necessarily get coffee, but just hang out in the student union and just kick it for a minute? Just have, whether it's Uno cards or a real conversation, either way, you're being there, you're being present, okay? And that's how memories are made, for sure. Think about it from your freshman year. A lot of the things that you did that you remember were free, and some of the funnest times uh, were from something very simple. Okay, you were attending something, or you know, you shared in an experience. These things help build memories and help break down barriers. Explore together. Maybe you don't know, you didn't know about an art gallery on campus or this special atrium or garden on campus. Go together. You never know um, what that might help. Share what you love about your school. You need to let them know because sometimes, particularly if they're doing um, poor academically, they may completely write the school off. So you need to help them see the good parts of what's being there because times will get hard. And in times getting hard, you want to know whether or not this is worth it. So what's worth it at your school to you? Okay? What keeps you coming back? Okay? Share your favorite parts. Just share, period. Okay? Take them to that favorite place on campus. Show them that little gym, that little hidden gym that's on campus of a, whether it's a study space, whether it's something beautiful to look at, whether it's a calming space, whether it's just simply something really cool to take a picture of, you know, just share your experiences. What does being available mean? It means that you share your routine with them. Uh, I can't stress enough. You all need to study. Let them know, hey, I'm studying from this time to this time. Or, hey, I have class in this building from this time, and I get off here and I have a break for an hour that I usually don't do much of nothing between my two classes. So hit me up if you're going to be in the Com Arts building. Find connections. What are the classes that you have taken together? Okay. What buildings do you have in common when it comes down to classes? Maybe you both take a class in Jenkins, at the same time, and you all get out at the same time. Maybe you walk to class together, or maybe you walk to the caf after class together. Frequent intersections. Okay, so find those intersections, particularly. I can't stress enough, just being a face on campus, know where their dorm is. Maybe you just hang out outside their dorm just to create a situation where they do talk to you. Or maybe you find out where their favorite study place is, and maybe you study there too. Invite them along to your things, whether it's uh, your organization throwing on an event, or if you're on a team, or something else going on from there. Make sure you invite them along. uh, Stick to your schedule. You need to stay consistent in your communication. You need to stay consistent uh, with your devotion to what's going on. Because as soon as you change up, you put yourself in a position to be fake, or you put yourself in a position to lose a key part of the relationship. Because some people, uh, you know, they're definitely quality time type people, and being inconsistent can completely ruin a relationship. So, with that being said, here are your immediate deliverables. I have attached a link to a Google survey, a Google form. It's a survey that comes directly to me. Complete the follow-up survey and link in this video, okay? Print and sign the peer group mentor agreement. If you're having trouble with that, let me know. Uh, Text me, email me, okay? Here are our contacts. If you don't already have them saved, you need to save them now, okay? Because we're going to be expecting to have calls and texts from you and emails from you when it comes down to reporting things about these students to stay uh, on top of everything, okay? Lastly, if you don't know your campus liaison already, here they are. Here are their contact information. All of their, some of them have, all of these are office numbers. So you would have to talk to them about getting their cell numbers. But these are their office numbers. These are their emails. Make sure you use them. Okay? And that is all. Thank you for listening. And please, please, please look for the follow up. You have a great day.